bá mi pè é o. Àfíjù. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Àfíjù. Rédíò. Àfíjù. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ àfíjù. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ àfíjù. Lórí WhatsApp. Àfíjù. Instagram. Àfíjù. Facebook. Àfíjù. Lórí X. Àfíjù. Lórí YouTube. Àfíjù. Lórí TikTok. Àfíjù. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Àfíjù. Ẹ bá mi pè é o. Àfíjù. Rédíò. Àfíjù. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ 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 àfíjù. Rédíò àfíjù. Rédíò àfíjù. Rédíò àfíjù.
Wherever you're listening or watching Radio Afiju, the time is 3 p.m.
Stay informed with news on Radio Afiju.
First, a look at the highlights. Oluyede assumes office as 24th COSA. Army says armed attackers killed 21 civilians in western Niger. Trump vows to end birthright citizenship and pardon U.S. Capitol rioters. Good afternoon and welcome to the World News on Radio Afiju. My name is Pearl Durotoye. The news in detail. The Nigerian Army performed a symbolic lowering and hoisting of command flag at Army headquarters as Olufemi Oluyede assumed command as the 24th Chief of Army Staff, COAS. Recall that Oluyede was appointed by President Bola Tinubu on October 30 in an acting capacity following the death of his predecessor, Taoreed Lagbaja. The Chief of Defense Staff, Christopher Musa, had on November 1 handed him the insignia of office in an unusual fashion in line with the Armed Forces Act. The symbolic lowering and hoisting of the command flag, which signifies the beginning of his tenure, came after the Senate and House of Representatives confirmed his appointment. Until his appointment, Oluyede served as the 56th commander of the Elite Infantry Corps of the Nigerian Army based in Jaji, Kaduna. The 56-year-old Oluyede and Lagbaja were coursemates and members of the 39th Regular Course of the Nigeria Defense Academy, NDA. He was commissioned as second lieutenant in 1992, effective from 1987, and rose to the rank of Major General in September 2020. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, Lagos State University, LASU, has advised students to disregard the release by the LASU Management and Students Union Body that activities have continued in LASU despite Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, and Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Other Related Institutions, NASU, industrial strike. According to ASU, its members have also since Friday declared an indefinite strike to protest the non-implementation of the federal government-approved salary increment of 25%/35% for members since January 2023. A former special advisor to the Osun state government on political matters, Sunday Akere, has accused the incumbent state government of being nepotistic in her approach to relocating the proposed Osun airport from Ido-Osun to the Ede area of the state. Akere made the accusation while featuring on Radio Afinju's Yoruba issues-based program, Gbagede Oro, where he hinted that Ido-Osun hosting the airport has historical connotations and backing which made previous administrations choose the area. According to him, the proposed site has over 400 hectares, which is wider than Ahmadu Bello Airport at Kebbi, and a runway of 3.5 kilometers runway, adding that there is a plan to construct a hangar where planes are maintained before considering it to a wall due to economic stability in 2013. Speaking on his party's preparation for the forthcoming gubernatorial election in the state, Akere noted that All Progressives Congress (APC) is serious and ready to unseat the incumbent administration. According to the APC stalwarts, many candidates are showing interest to become the party's flag bearer, while re-emphasizing that he will be glad to have someone from the southwestern part of the state clinching the ticket. He further affirmed that Gboyega Oyetola is yet to show interest in contesting for the 2026 governorship election in the state, emphasizing that he is still eligible to contest as a bona fide member of the party. While addressing the altercation between Gboyega Oyetola and Rauf Aregbesola, Akere mentioned that the rift is above the grassroots, saying some national bigwigs in the party are involved. He opined that there is still room for reconciliation between the two former governors, as politics is a game of reconciliation. Human rights lawyer Dele Farotimi has been granted bail by the Ekiti State High Court. The court granted Farotimi bail in the sum of 50 million naira with a surety of the same amount. It ruled that the surety must possess a landed property and adjourned the matter to January 29, 2025 for further proceedings. Farotimi was taken to court by Afe Babalola, a senior advocate of Nigeria, after being arrested by operatives of the Ekiti State Police Command. Babalola, 95 years old, accused Farotimi of defaming him in a book titled Nigeria and Its Criminal Justice System. The arrest sparked outrage across the country, prompting civil society organizations and the Nigerian Bar Association to call for the activist's release. A fire outbreak has killed an 18-year-old boy at Sayi area of Alore in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. The incident was said to have occurred at about 1:30 a.m. in the early hours of the day. A government official who confirmed the incident to newsmen disclosed that a delegation of the Kwara State government was about to visit the scene of the fire outbreak for assessment of the situation. Away from Nigeria, the Niger army said armed attackers on motorcycles killed at least 21 civilians in Niger. The attack last Thursday near the town of Terra, about 175 kilometers west of the capital, Niamey, and close to the border with Burkina Faso, came at a time of heightened violence in the Sahel, where military rulers have kicked out Western forces and turned to Russia and others for support. The army said in a statement that the target was a public transport bus traveling between the town of Bankilare and Terra in the Tilaberi region, calling it a hateful and inhumane act. Tilaberi region has increasingly been the focus of tit-for-tat attacks between the military and local armed groups. The army said one of its troops had been killed in a reprisal attack last Friday when a military vehicle struck an improvised bomb. In Ghana, popular actor John Dumelo has won the Ayawaso West Wugon parliamentary constituency seat. Dumelo, who ran under the platform of the National Democratic Congress (NDC), defeated the incumbent Lydia Al-Hassan of the ruling New Patriotic Party (NPP). Dumelo had been trying to win this constituency since 2018, but he lost by a narrow margin in the 2020 election. However, this time the actor turned farmer won by a large margin with 40,561 compared to his closest rival Al Hassan with 27,377. Dumelo has featured in numerous films and is a well-known figure in both Nollywood and Gollywood. In Asia, South Korean authorities have imposed a travel ban on President Yoon Suk-yeol, who is under investigation for a short-lived martial law declaration last Tuesday. Yoon narrowly survived an impeachment motion against him over the weekend after members of parliament from his ruling People Power Party (PPP) boycotted the vote. PPP members said they had decided not to support the motion after Yoon agreed to shorten his term and not get involved in foreign and domestic affairs. However, the opposition Democratic Party, which commands a majority in the parliament, have criticized the deal, with floor leader Park Chan-dae calling it an illegal, unconstitutional second insurrection and a second coup. The Pacific Island Nations Parliament of Tonga said earlier today that Tongan Prime Minister Siausi Sobeleni has resigned for the good of the country and moving Tonga forward. Reports said the resignation in Parliament shortly before midday came ahead of a motion for a vote of no confidence expected to be put to the Assembly. He would continue to serve as a Member of Parliament. King Tupu VI has accepted the resignation, and a statement from the Parliament office said Parliament would reconvene on December 24 to consider nominations for Prime Minister. In Europe, Dutch prosecutors said they had seized 25 kilograms of a crucial ingredient for the production of fentanyl, a synthetic opioid that can be lethal even in tiny doses. Prosecutors said in a statement police found the shipment of N-Bok4 piperidone, a pill powder that is a core ingredient of fentanyl, last Tuesday. They added it was unclear where the chemicals were headed, but there was no indication that they were intended for pharmaceutical use. The statement did not say where the seizure took place, and prosecutors did not respond to an immediate request for comment. According to the prosecutors, a rough calculation shows that the amount seized would be enough to make more than 50 million 2-milligram doses of fentanyl. The Kremlin said it was too early to say what the future would hold for Russia's military bases in Syria, adding that it would be the subject of discussion with the new rulers in Damascus. After a lightning advance of a militia alliance spearheaded by Hayat al-Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, a former al-Qaeda affiliate, Bashar al-Assad fled to Russia, raising questions about two strategically important Russian military facilities in Syria. The Tatu facility in Russia's only Mediterranean repair and replenishment hub, and Moscow has used Syria as a staging post to fly its military contractors in and out of Africa. In Australia, Australian police say a fire which ripped through Melbourne's Adas Israel synagogue is being treated as a likely terror attack. Three suspects are being hunted over Friday's early morning blaze, which left one man with a minor burn to his hand and caused extensive damage. Witnesses say they saw masked figures spreading what appeared to be an accelerant in the building before setting it alight. Victoria Police said they have no evidence that further anti-Semitic attacks are planned, but patrols are being increased to reassure the community. After a meeting with Australian Federal Police and Domestic Spy Agency, ASIO, the state police force said additional intelligence had led them to conclude the incident should be treated as a probable terror attack. Commissioner Shane Patton said police had no information before the fire to suggest an arson attack was imminent. He declined to provide any further details on the investigation while it continued. In the Americas, President-elect Donald Trump has said he will look at pardons for those involved in the 2021 U.S. Capitol riot on his first day back in office next month. The Republican also vowed to end automatic citizenship for anyone born in the country, but offered to work with Democrats to help some undocumented immigrants who were brought to the U.S. as children. In the wide-ranging sit-down, which Trump promised to issue a lot of executive orders, including on immigration, energy and the economy, after his inaugurated on 20 January. While he suggested he would not seek a Justice Department investigation into Joe Biden, he said that some of his political adversaries, including lawmakers who investigated the Capitol riot, should be jailed. Trump was asked whether he would seek to pardon the hundreds of people convicted of involvement in that riot when supporters of his stormed Congress 3 months after his defeat in the 2020 election. U.S. rapper Sean Carter, popularly known as Jay-Z, has hit back at a lawsuit which alleges that he, along with Sean Combs, drugged and raped a 13-year-old girl at a party in 2000. The anonymous accuser alleges she was assaulted at a house party after the MTV Video Music Awards, VMAs, in New York, and that an unnamed female celebrity was in the room at the time. In a statement, Jay-Z dismissed the legal action as a blackmail attempt. Combs, who is in jail awaiting trial after being charged in September with sex trafficking and other offenses, denied the latest accusation. The lawsuit was originally filed in October and was refiled on Sunday to list Carter as a defendant. In the Middle East, at least 22 Palestinians, including women and children, have been killed after Israel launched air and drone attacks across Gaza, while a power outage threatens the lives of more than 100 patients at a hospital in the besieged territories north. Sources told reporters that in the latest Israeli attack in the Jalabia refugee camp in northern Gaza, 3 people were targeted with a missile launched from a drone, instantly killing them. Overnight, an Israeli attack in the southern city of Rafah also killed 10 people while they had lined up to buy flour. Mahmoud said because of the limited delivery of humanitarian aid going through the southern border, scenes of hunger similar to northern Gaza were also happening in the south. Israel will step up airstrikes on Syrian stores of advanced weaponry and keep a limited troop presence on the ground, hoping to head off any threats that could emerge in the fallout of President Bashar al-Assad's overthrow. While Assad's foe wiped out a bastion from which Israel's arch foe, Iran, had exercised influence in the region, the lightning advance of a disparate group of rebel forces with roots in the Islamic ideology of al-Qaeda poses risks. Defense Minister Israel Katz said the military will destroy heavy strategic weapons throughout Syria, including surface-to-air missiles, air defense systems, surface-to-surface missiles, cruise missiles, long-range rockets, and coastal missiles. A senior Israeli official said airstrikes would persist in the coming days, while Foreign Minister Gideon Saar said Israel had no interest in interfering in internal Syrian affairs and was concerned only with defending its citizens. Now talking sports, the Football Association, FA, has opened an investigation into the behavior of Tottenham Hotspur's fans during their 4-3 defeat to Chelsea in the Premier League. The club supporters could be seen throwing objects onto the pitch during the game. Spurs raced into a 2-0 lead inside 11 minutes thanks to goals from Dominik Solanke and Dejan Kulusevski. But Chelsea fought back through Jadon Sancho's strike, 2 penalties from Cole Palmer and a goal from Enzo Fernandez before Son Heung-min struck a late consolation. Before the match, Spurs fans in the South Stand were given pieces of paper to create a giant tifo which read Hodre es fachar, Latin for "to dare is to do," the club's motto. But those pieces of paper were then thrown onto the pitch by some fans when Chelsea's players came to take corners at that end of the ground. The FA is understood to be investigating the incident and will review footage as well as referee Anthony Taylor's match report before potentially taking further action. Meanwhile, rebels toppling the regime of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad prompted the country's soccer federation to change the color of the national team's kit and logo from red to green. Syrian rebels seized the capital Damascus unopposed on Sunday after a lightning advance that sent Assad fleeing to Russia after a 13-year civil war and 6 decades of his family's autocratic rule. As the events unfolded, the Syrian Soccer Federation announced it was changing the color of its logo and the kit of the men's first team. Before we go, here again are the highlights. The Nigerian Army performed the symbolic lowering and hoisting of command flag at Army headquarters as Olufemi Oluyede assumed command as the 24th Chief of Army Staff. Elsewhere, armed attackers on motorcycles killed at least 21 civilians in Niger. In the Americas, President-elect Donald Trump has said he will look at pardons for those involved in the 2021 U.S. Capitol riot on his first day back in office next month. That was the world news on Radio Afinju. To view our channel, please follow us on Facebook, X and YouTube at Radio Afinju.